Hello, 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 and welcome back to Chit Chat Podcast, where we chat all things women. We are still celebrating this month of March, Women's History Month, and today is a great episode in doing so. So I need you guys check in with us, like and share this episode if you know that. You know a woman who's transforming, she's evolving, she's becoming. This is the episode for her. So go ahead and tag a person, make sure they don't miss out on this episode as well. So welcome to Chit Chat Podcast, or those who are new to the podcast. I am Shadonna Thomas, your host. We have a special guest today that joins us once a month. So we are always excited about having him. But also we have affectionately called him from the Chit Chat Podcast family, the Dr. Love, the Love Doctor. And so we are excited to have him once a month with us, collaborating with us as a life coach, talking to us giving us different perspectives when it comes to love and relationships and healing and all of those things that are necessary for us when life is life, and right. So we're celebrating Women's History Month with a conversation titled She's Becoming, Healing, Hustling, and Holding Space for Love. Because if we're being real, women today are not just surviving, we are evolving. And we are building, we are healing, we are loving, we're redefining what it means to have it all. Today, we're going to dive into a journey of becoming, becoming whole, becoming aligned, becoming her. A lot of y'all are saying, I'm her. Are you really her? So becoming her without losing ourselves in the process. I'm so honored to be joined by our special guest, Mr. Juan Lee, today, who brings a unique and insightful perspective to this conversation. So we're going to get started here, but becoming isn't pretty. We know that it's not always soft, it's not always graceful, it's not always highlight and real. Sometimes it requires us to have a breaking point. Sometimes it feels like we're losing. Sometimes it requires letting go of who we thought we had to be. But in that space, I want you to take a moment to realize is where the transformation takes place. That's where the caterpillar becomes the butterfly. So, ladies, you are not behind if you're in this process. You're not behind if you feel like you're in a stuck place or in between place. If you're evolving, or if you're breaking, or if you're losing, or you're letting go, you are becoming. That's what's happening to you. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to dive into it. We're going to get Mr. Juan to chime in with us with his perspective and the things that he brought for this topic on today. So let's talk about something we don't discuss enough: healing while still showing up, because many of us are rebuilding and building businesses, leading teams, raising families, all while carrying emotional weight and baggage. The key point to this is you don't have to be fully healed to be successful, but you do have to be intentional about your healing. So we're going to dive in, bring Mr. Juan on, and start our chat on today. So you guys, if you have any questions, make sure you chime in the chat section. Jada will highlight your questions or comments, and we'll make sure we address those accordingly. So let's dive in. Bring Mr. Juan on, Jada.
All righty. Hello. Hello. I'm here.
Okay. I'm trying to put the comments on the stage, and I took my camera off. So hey, Mr. Juan, how are you?
I'm fine. Yourself? How are you?
I'm good. Well, we always glad to have you back with us once a month. I'm so glad that we actually started this collab, because people look forward to seeing the Love Doctor on.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Chucks, you have been doing this all month, and it sounds like you've been hitting a lot of the real spots that transformation requires. So
Yeah.
that sounds good. So we're just going to continue what you're doing today.
Okay. Okay. So, from your perspective, Mr. Wine, what does it look like when a woman is trying to heal while she's pursuing success? Like, what does that look like for you?
You
From
know, that right there is probably the most difficult part of I have a three-part process that I wanted to talk to you about, but that one right there, if you want to hit right there at that one, that's the real crust of this healing while hustling as you're going through this transformation is to really know that you can do both. You can
right,
heal and you can continue to thrive, because that's where you begin to establish your identity. That's where you really begin to determine some things that are going to be vitally important for you to be able to make space, the proper space, for someone else in another relationship, in a future relationship, in any type of relationship, to be perfectly honest with you. It's going to be where you establish those goals. But the biggest thing is that I like to talk about is because love is a way of thinking. Because I look at love as a way, as a mindset. And
mm,
one of the attitudes of this mindset, it's for, in this case, it's discipline. And that's really having to be able to stick to your guns as
yes,
you go through this process. I mean, this is where you really begin to define who you are, define your purpose, and begin to build the resilience that you need and the stability that you're going to need to be able to take it to the next level, to go to the next step. And so, you set your goals, you build your structure, and here's the one thing that people don't want to really like. In this state is where you establish your consistency.
oh yeah,
We've got to be able to understand that we build who we are based on our consistency. It's to say we want to do one thing, but we don't show up that way. That's where we begin to show, we begin to demonstrate mixed messages. But we want to show up when things get uncomfortable, when it gets hard. Um, we want to keep promises to ourselves. We want to be truly, um,
intentional. I
absolutely.
mentioned earlier, it has to be intentional.
Hmm.
In order for you to like I had mentioned in part of my intro, I said, you don't have to be fully healed, but you got to be intentional about your healing because of the process of it.
Well, yeah, and the thing because if we want to get back into this, in a little bit of the points that I was going to share with you, was the first part is, and that is the healing process, and you can't skip this one. You gotta be honest with yourself.
Whew.
You
Yeah.
gotta be honest with yourself. Honesty in this stage is going to be the foundation for you to be able to manage and build something that's authentically who you are. If we're unable to be we aren't honest with ourselves, because in certain cases we've got to just accept some things.
Oh yeah.
And I think therein lies where we begin to go off course a little bit, because it's painful to accept some things.
Mm, yeah.
It hurts, but
But that.
it's in that pain that we realize. And here's the biggest thing that we want to gain from that healing process is growth.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's what we want to get out of that healing process, is growth. If we can't get growth, we've not been healed yet.
And I think we got to allow ourselves time to give ourselves grace too. Like you saying, being honest with yourself. This is where I am right now. It may
Hmm.
not be where I want to be, but this is where I am right now due to whatever circumstance, situation that has placed me here. This is where I am. So if I'm being honest with myself, then I can give myself grace to get through the growth process, to get through that healing process.
Yeah, I mean, and great again. Don't look past the fact of there is no timetable here.
Mm-hmm.
There's no timetable here. What you're looking for is growth.
Right.
You want improvement. You want to be able to say, I'm somewhere that I wasn't before. And that's critical, because that's what transformation is about, a change of thinking.
Yes,
It's a different way of thinking. And so it's very important that we recognize that that healing has to take place before we can start. When I say it has to be acknowledged, that when we're going to be, because as we're going to be building, if we're not honest with ourselves, we're going to be building a shaky foundation.
that's true.
It's going to be building a shaky foundation. So we don't want that to be the case. So yeah, it's really important. Be honest with yourself. But yes, you can do it at the same time
Mm-hmm.
if you're willing to understand it's going to be uncomfortable. Be consistent and be consistent with it, and know that you're creating stability while you're doing it. You know, purpose is there. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really important in decision making and problem solving in any kind of situation, is that when you have purpose, because purpose is bigger than the moment, and that
Like
keeps you
that.
focused. That keeps you focused. And then that's going to be critical in the next step of that I was going to share with you all. And that is, we talk about the healing, we talking about the hustle, and then being able to be ready or to make space for love in a relationship sense. And
Mm-hmm.
understanding that the most important part about this is those two parts that came before that. Once you are honest with yourself, you've been able to understand yourself, identify who you are, and then when you're looking for that, when you find out who you are, then it's easy for you to find the alignment
Mm,
that we are looking for. And that's what relationships are all about. It's about alignments. And what we finally do, and that's the difference, that's the trigger in being able to make the decisions that are different from the ones that we've made in the past.
right.
Because we know now what we're not looking for is attachments.
Ooh,
We're not looking for chemistry. We're not looking for pleasure. We're looking for peace. We're looking for alignment. We're looking for awareness that you can find all of these things in that one person or that one situation or one relationship that supports, builds, encourages, instead of pulls down,
right.
separates, and,
That's
and divides.
That certainty. I ain't trying to be guessing, second guessing, thinking, or whatever. It has to be. I like that you said align, because that makes perfect sense. Because I was going to ask you the question. How can us as women, because I'm including myself, because I've been on this transformation process. How do you remain open to love when life has made you so guarded? Because we've been through so many things, life been, now we're just so guarded. How do we remain open to hold for that space for love?
That's just it. You've got to understand that you can't be so jaded to love. And how do you do that is to be open. But when you establish standards, when
And no,
you establish boundaries and standards,
yes.
okay, you can really begin to understand where you stand and where someone else is going to, step across your bound. You can identify, you can recognize them. See, you don't have to be anxious, but you can still be open.
I like that. Don't have to
Okay.
be anxious, but be open.
Yeah, and that's the difference, because you have those standards. There's those boundaries there that allows you not to be jaded, or not to be to the point where I'm going to be closed to anything, but it allows me to say, okay, I'm safe in these boundaries. It's sort of like an umbrella. If you going in the rain, you got the umbrella around, you ain't worried about getting wet. You'll go out in the rain because you got the umbrella.
Right.
It's the covering that you are secure under the covering.
Ooh, I like.
Instead of you jumping out and trying to go pull something, you're gonna get wet. If you come from out you come from out the cover, and you're gonna get wet. You
Yes.
stay in your boundaries. The umbrella is your boundaries. That's where your safety is. That's where you stay dry. That's where you know everything that's in there is you're secure underneath of the umbrella. Try to reach outside that umbrella, you're gonna get wet. you're gonna get bitten. You're gonna get hurt.
So I'm gonna ask you this because a lot of times modern day women are always saying, well, I'm looking to have my soft girl era. So how do you build and grow and still allow that softness to take place to hold that space for love?
Well, again, this again establishes inside of this part where we're talking about having this attitude, and realize that this attitude of love that I'm talking about, especially as it relates to this, you know, it there's three components basically, and I'm gonna be just gonna reach back into my thing here just to be sure. Um, you've got to be courageous, and that means you have to be staying open, and you've got to be vulnerable in this space.
Mm.
You've got to be vulnerable because without that, the fear of controlling is going to be there.
And vulnerability takes away that guardedness.
Yeah, and that's when again this goes back to that courage, that one of the attitudes of love. You've really got to be courageous.
Right.
You've got to be courageous. You can still be your soft person, and you should be, because I'll be honest with you, it's necessary.
Yes.
It's necessary. So you can't put boundaries up that prevent you from being authentically who you are.
Well,
That's important.
Well, let me ask you this because we do have a lot of our listeners within our podcast family who are CEOs and bosses, and they're
Mhm,
women.
mhm.
So, help us to understand how when we're trying to achieve love, how love shouldn't or doesn't require us to shrink our power as women in those positions of CEOs and corporate America and all those. It shouldn't allow us to shrink our power, but to be to present be vulnerable with it with one,
Here,
because we're
here, here,
putting it out there and we're
here.
creating who we are.
You've got to separate them. To be honest with you, you've got to separate them. You
Okay.
you you really have to be able to separate them because you know you can't. It's very difficult, and I ain't gonna lie to you. And it's very difficult because when you're a boss all day, you can't be a boss at home. When you're a boss at day, and that's the difference of being able to do that the same way. Because see, you remember I was talking about that umbrella, that
Hmm.
covering.
Yeah.
See, that covering doesn't necessarily demean in the scenario in which we're talking about now. That covering does not have a position outside of the home that matters.
Mm.
Okay? It
Okay.
does. I can be a entrepreneur, I can be a self employed person, and I don't boss nobody but myself being a man. Okay? And you could be a corporate executive out there doing your thing. But my position in a relationship is a covering,
Oh,
is
yeah,
a covering.
absolutely.
Okay.
That's what I want. Look,
Okay. And see, that's
my
that that's
that corporate hat comes off and I walk through the door.
well, see, and that's the point I'm saying is that it's very easily said than done. And you've got to understand that, because the covering that my position provides is something that is you can't see inside of the house. In our relationship, you can't see this. And that's where, if you want to be able to continue to be the boss at the work, I've got to be able to maintain your covering at home.
Yeah, and I think that's real important too because a lot of times, and including myself, a lot of times we fall short in that area because we fought so hard to get to places and do things and establish where we are, and then when we get there, it's like, I ain't trying to back down to this or whatever, and we've been so independent for so long that it's hard for us to embrace the soft girl era or embrace the covering that is being offered to a lot of us. And there's resistance there. And when there's resistance there, it causes a lot of friction and problems that, we create ourselves because we don't know how to separate. Like you said, we don't know how to separate. We don't know how to leave the job and leave the job. We come home and we still trying to be, boss mommy at home or boss wifey at home like we are at work or something. And that
And,
shouldn't be the case.
and let's be clear, men have to make that same adjustment too.
Mm-hmm.
They need to
I
make
agree.
that same adjustment. And the problem is that when they come home, that is not your subordinate. That is not your subordinate. That's the person you serve. Okay. Just as if you were at work, you got to understand that that's why it's so difficult if you don't have a proper leadership mentality,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't understand that leaderships are servants
Mm-hmm.
and not dictators.
Right.
And so when you come home, you just have a different servant. You just serving someone differently, instead of being a boss and being at work, being the one who serves people at work. You come home as a man, you serving your spouse. And that's a change that you have to, that's a mentality. That's again a part of the love mindset that I talk about a lot, is to understand the differences and the value of understanding the power of love and knowing that there's attitudes and how we are to think.
Mm.
It's more than an emotion, it's more than a feeling. It is a mindset, it's a thinking. It's how do we think? Are we thinking correctly as it relates to our position, how we are to manage? How do we navigate the
Yeah.
position and not be confused from situation to situation?
And I'm glad you're speaking on mindset because you hit that a whole lot when you talk to us about mindset. So my question is, how can strong and independent women stay open without losing themselves? Because sometimes we either all in and we're going in and we lose ourselves sometimes, or we're not all in, and then we don't know how to create those boundaries or create that space, to allow the grace to happen, to allow the covering to happen, and allow the vulnerability to happen. So, how can we do that as strong, independent women without losing ourselves?
Well, see, you said the key word there a little while ago when you said be intentional.
Okay.
You really have to be aware. Self-awareness is essential. It's critical.
Okay.
Okay. If you're unaware of yourself and how you show up,
Mm,
you're going to be at a disadvantage in being able to set those boundaries,
that's true.
because you're unfamiliar with what's in your own best interest. So be very cautious as relates to because you just can't arbitrarily set boundaries. You need to really understand who you are and understand where your authenticity is. If not, you setting somebody else's boundaries that you typically are not going to be able to hold. You're
Yeah.
not going to be able to hold them, because those are those things that's going to begin to establish what's important, your values, the things that you're going to that's going to be bigger than you, that you're going to be held accountable to.
That's good. Um, so since we're talking about that and moving to that direction, help us to redefine balance, because a lot of times we hear that work life balance a lot, trying to, make sure we are equally doing what we need to do at home, or not doing, less at home and more at work, and vice versa. So, how do we redefine that balance when we're trying to normalize what we're trying to successfully do, as well as align with what we're trying to receive in love and relationships and commitments?
Let's use maybe three of the two that you were talking about. You're talking about healing and building. When you're healing, you want to make sure that you're not becoming too fragile. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because healing is going to require you to be to give something, but at the same time, you've got to be able to understand that you're not a pushover. Okay, you're not a pushover, and that means sometimes I'm going to have to say, okay, no, beyond to say no to some things. but no should support who you are, your values. They
Right.
really should support your values. If they don't, what happens a lot of times is we say no for the wrong reasons.
Mm,
We say no because it don't feel good. Sometimes you got to say no because it's just the wrong thing to do.
that's true.
It's the wrong thing to do, irrespective of it feeling good. It ain't about necessarily feeling good. It's
It
about
shouldn't
what.
even be about feelings, period.
Well, again, you're right, but I'm saying is that you've got to understand that you when we're coming to a point where a situation is becoming um apparent that it's something that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have something to align it with.
Right.
And that's why when we talk about relationships, it's about an alignment.
Mm,
It's very easy to know if you don't align or not. If you know who you are and this don't align,
that's true.
next we got to baby going. We ain't got to figure this out or try to think about it. That don't line up with me. You
Right.
know, it was interesting. I heard something. It was a real interesting thing on. I was listening to somebody and they were doing a some type of program on the radio, and the lady said that she went on a first date and she had a perfect time on the first date, and
Oh.
the guy ghosted her, and she was like, the guy now wanted to find out. No, she, yeah, he ghosted her,
Oh.
and she was wanting to know why. He wanted to know. No, she ghosted him. Why she ghosted him? Because she had a very good time. Come to find out, they were doing the conversation. She made a statement. She says, he asked her what he do. She says he's a salesperson, and the name of the company that he worked for was nuclear, nuclear, N-E-U clear, instead of being nuclear, it
Uh-huh.
was two separate words.
Oh.
She thought he said that she sold nukes,
Oh.
missiles,
Like the bombs.
the
Yeah.
bombs, and she missed just in communication. She missed it, and she made a decision based on that conversation, and that's fine. But the fact is, man, that's why conversation and communication is critical.
Oh yeah.
We need to be clarifying and for understanding instead of joint gathering our own. Okay, are you saying you sell nuclear bombs, or you work for a company called nuclear, nuclear? Just an example of clarity in conversation, but at the same time, she ghosted him because he didn't align with what she thought. And that
Wow.
was right. She felt that he shouldn't be selling nuclear bombs, and she ghosted him.
Oh,
Nuclear bombs?
look,
She misunderstood it, but she made a decision, and she said, "I ain't gonna have nothing to do with him."
I have been there, but I didn't misunderstand it. I just felt like I didn't want to be tied to something, with such a culture of what the person did, and so I made a decision and said no or whatever, and then I was turned into the bad person because of my decision based off of that. But I understood clearly what his job was and what he does on a daily basis. But because it wasn't told to me in the beginning, and when I found out what it really was, it was like, why did you hide it? And so, yeah. So I can understand that it wasn't a miscommunication for me, but it was just a decision I made because based off of that, and I explained that to him based off of that and how the culture is around that particular job right now. I can't do it because it can put my life in danger, my family life in danger, or whatever, based off how things are going now. So,
And those are the types of things that are called boundaries. That's how you build. Unfortunately, that takes courage.
yes, it
That
does.
takes courage because everything else is fine. I had a great time, everything, you treat me right. But he says, okay, but this doesn't align.
Yeah,
This
I said
doesn't
the
align.
same thing. I said the same thing. Like, I enjoy the physical. the like he was very, catch eye catching, but I just couldn't because of that. And so, and I didn't want to, go against, my principles or put me or myself or my family at jeopardy of being, targets for something. And so, yeah.
That's what it means to be courageous.
Hmm.
Those are the types of experiences, it's easily to say, okay, I'm just going to let it ride. I'm just going to let it ride. But it's those compromises that are basically deteriorating your boundaries.
Yeah.
And these are things that we do to ourselves.
Right.
We do them to ourselves. And because here's the point, if you'll do it there, you'll do it somewhere else.
Exactly. 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 Yeah. So we're gonna talk about the uh, the hustling part and how women create moments of empowerment. So right now, if you're listening and you have questions for Mr. Juan, please post your questions in the comment section. But we really want to make sure that you guys get clear clarification on things, because as you're transforming, you don't want to lose sight of who you are, but you also don't want to lose opportunities where you can properly be aligned with your person, your future mate, whatever the case may be, all because we're distracted and missing out on opportunity because we're so focused on the building part and what we're trying to create successfully in our professional lives. And we miss out on our personal lives because of that. So if you got questions, post them in the comments for Mr. Juan. But I do want to talk about the empowerment part, because women go through different phases and seasons of life. Some of us are single, some of us divorced, different situations. So as we're transforming and becoming, um, and trying not to lose ourselves, it's just so much, allowing ourselves to evolve and grow. And what are some advice you can give women who find themselves in places where they kind of outgrow people who are in their, immediate circle and life, and you start moving beyond those people? So what are when you get what I'm asking? Like
Yeah,
sometimes we
yeah.
outgrow people and we have to make those tough decisions. Like, where I am moving and evolving and growing to, you just can't take everybody with you. You can't, everybody that was attached to you, before ain't gonna be able to go everywhere with you, So what are some advice you can give to us women who are in those different phases and seasons of our lives, that are experiencing that?
Here's the thing. Growth is universal.
Hmm.
Growth is universal. If That's why it's so important to have purpose. You have to have purpose, a defined purpose. And purpose is, I teach about a universal purpose,
Okay.
but every one of us has goals. And if in our immediate circle, um we should be looking for people who add value.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, add value. It's not about who can't come along with you. It's where is the value in who's with you.
Right.
If you can identify people that don't have value, then they're not with you. You can't allow people that don't have any value. Now, it's not that they don't have value to somebody else. It's just that relationships have responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
They should have this reciprocalness to them.
Right.
Whereas is that I have something for you and you have something for me, and I don't mean that it's on this 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 value, like I gotta pay you to give me something. No, no, there is some intrinsic value to who you are in relationships with, and it's inevitable. If there is none, then it's you really have to question whether or not it's truly a relationship, or if it's just somebody that's, just holding on to get what they can get, or
Right.
vice versa. If you're holding on to something because of what you can get from somebody else, that's not a relationship. At least it's not a healthy one either way, because we have to have something that we bring to the table. And so you don't have to look at people. It's like when you begin to increase
Mm,
and people fall off,
right.
that means that their value has gone. If if you haven't had a need to speak to someone in 2 or 3 years,
Hello.
that page was turned. And then many times you've heard this: everything is seasonal.
Hmm.
Everything is you've got to understand. If things aren't seasonal, that means things are not growing,
Yes.
because that's what happens from season to season. Things grow. We're older this year than we were last year. We should be wiser this year than we were last year. We should be wiser next year than we are this year. But that
Yeah.
means that growth takes place. And if that means that the environment that we're in, that means that the people that are around us, the things you're looking for to cause the growth is going to come from externally as well as internally as well as externally. And so we just have to be conscious of that. And so when we see ourselves evolving,
Hmm.
it's not that we're intentionally pushing people away, but we have a purpose that's greater than any one person or any two people. It's like, okay, what helps this process grow? What helps me grow?
Right.
And it's very easy to identify those because they add value.
Yeah. Because a lot of times women feel guilty, feel like they can't have it all. They can't run a business. They can't be successful doing this and be open to love at the same time while they're going through a growing process. Yes, you can. You're It's okay for you to evolve. It's okay to you to grow through the process. It's okay for you to be open to love, through the process. People feel like they have to arrive at a certain point before they can start doing this. Well, I can't do this until I get myself together over here, or till I do this, that, and the other, X, Y, and Z. But you can do all those things simultaneously and still be able to create those boundaries, establish, a purpose for your alignment. So help us to understand why women get so stuck with that, and they'll wait years. They'll
Well,
Years will go by, and they'll be like, "Well, I didn't date because I was trying to let the kids grow up, or I was trying to do this," and you lose all this time because you're trying to build your life and become this, and you feel like you can't be open to all of that all at the same time.
but again, a lot of, like I said, a lot of the things in the way in which you're presenting them, these are universal, each and every, all of us, men and women. And I
Mhm.
don't mean to mean that, women are doing it, have a difficult time than men, or men than women. But the point is that while we are building, while we are healing, as you stated in this case for the women, it's
Mhm.
as we are healing, we've got to be at the same time, and in many cases, building ourselves to be who we want to become. Okay.
Yes.
Now, in that process, there is personal growth, there's professional growth.
Oh, yeah.
Those are but this is all dimmed, all based on growth. So as you're doing this, if someone comes into that experience or that space where you're growing, what you don't want to do is compromise your growth for a relationship.
Oh, never.
And so you can continue to grow, but it takes a very mature person. When I say mature, you know exactly who I am. And I want to go back and maybe connect this to your first question about who gets to go when you're growing and they're not coming at your level. If it's established relationships, and we're talking about one-on-one relationships,
Mm-hmm.
um, you really have to determine personal growth versus personal growth versus professional growth.
Okay.
Okay, you professional growth and personal growth are not the same, and so
That's correct.
you can progress at a rapid level professionally, and maybe the level in which you are progressing at a personal rate is not as rapid,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be dependent on who you're in relationship with. Okay, don't compare those two though.
Oh,
Don't compare professional and personal and say I'm revving it up, I'm knocking them out the park up here in professional, but I'm not doing so well personally. You can't compare those two because you could be doing you could be doing better with your your personal life, your personal relationship, than you could be in your professional life if you don't measure them, if you don't compare them.
but
If you get what I'm
often,
saying.
yeah, but oftentimes it does get compared because I've seen so many social media posts where it's like, why are there so many successful women single? Like, what makes them like, single, unavailable, or, men feel like it's difficult to date someone woman who seems like she got it all together or seems like she's doing her big thing or whatever. So,
I'm gonna refer back to something or someone that was he's no longer with us. His name was Kevin. What was his name? Kevin.
oh, the guy, yeah, the
Yeah,
social,
he was talking about what was it? High quality men,
yeah,
high quality
high,
men,
high, high
high value,
functioning, high
high
value.
value women. And I'm gonna use him as an example. His format or his the reverse of his statements, because there was this mindset that women wanted a high value man, and but their value was beneath his. And I'm going to say to women who have high value or have a thriving profession, don't think that you need an equal high professional to have a high personal value. Don't compare them, because when I'm talking about covering is not professional, it's personal. And you cannot compare them. And I was Kevin Samuels, that's what his name was.
Yeah,
He does he was talking monetarily. I'm talking about relational.
right.
When we're talking about relational, you don't you're one. Okay,
Mhm.
monetary things, if we're measuring based on monetary, you're gonna miss the um personal, you're gonna miss that relationship, personal relationship, you're gonna miss it. And so don't compare them. So as you drive, if you're driving, they're out there, men are out there, good men are out there. You just got to be able to identify. And see, here's the point: you don't identify personally with your professional accomplishments. If you do, you're going to miss it.
I never do. I think I look more for somebody to align with me spiritually than I do personally as or professionally, because I feel like I'm a because I'm a believer, I don't want to be unequally yoked. And so spiritually wise, that has to be aligned for me. But professionally, I don't care about that.
Okay, I want to just interject something here. I hear what you say when you said spiritually. You need to make that practical.
Okay.
That needs to be practical.
Okay.
Okay. It spiritual is something that is abstract,
Okay.
and anybody can run around and appear to be spiritual. You need practical application. What are you practically aligned with? You
Hmm.
need to have alignment. And that's what I'm talking about. You don't need alignment professionally.
Right.
You need alignment uh, uh personally, in that personal relationship. That's where who you are. It's not what you are, it's who you are. And see, you're an executive. Okay, fine. But that's what you do. Who you are is your character. It's the things that makes brings your values. Where are your values? What do you value? Like the lady that I was telling you about, she said, I don't want to work with somebody. I want to be in a relationship with somebody who sells nukes. Okay, she misunderstood it, but she was definitely not going to deal with somebody who dealt with nukes. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not, and the thing about it, do I agree with her stance? No, I don't agree with her stance, but the fact it was her stance, and
Right.
that's all that matters. There's no one has to agree with you but you. And
Right.
until you find that person that agrees, comes in alignment with what you are willing to do, what you're willing, like you're saying, I want to be the feminine person. You
Hmm.
need to find somebody who accepts and receives that feminine person. And it's amazing that that's even an option. That's amazing that that's even an option, because you got so many that appear something that they are not.
Masking. Yeah, they're
Uh,
masking.
uh, and you know, it will come out.
Oh yeah.
It will
Yeah.
come out.
I posted that on my social media this week. And kind of elaborating from my healing journey that, you know, people will mask and pretend to be, they'll study you and pretend to be what you want them to be because they know that's what you want. If that's what they know that you want, that's what you require, they will study you to try to be what you expect them to be until they can't pretend anymore, until they can't be that, they can't play that part anymore. And then you'll start seeing them slowly unraveling because they don't mask themselves, pretending. My mom used to always say, to be a good liar, you had to have a good memory. you know
Absolutely, because you got to remember what you said last.
yeah, you got to always remember, if you're gonna be telling these lies, you got to remember what you don't said and have a good memory, because if somebody come back and ask you that same question 1,000 times, is your answer gonna be the same 1,000 times?
But see, here's the thing: the same. You don't even have to have the same question. It's just the context has the same answer.
Mm,
We you don't we get caught up in the same context, not the same question, because you won't ask the same question. You'll ask another question in a different context, and they'll come up with a different answer, and then you'll be like, "Oh, how did that work?" Because that don't add up. These things don't add up, and we don't recognize that. Yeah, somebody, if you tell them what the answer is, they'll give it to you back.
right.
They'll give you the answer that you want to hear.
Yeah, because sometimes people, they listen to answer you instead of to understand you anyway. So,
And
you know,
and
they're
that's
trying to
that
respond. They're trying to give you a response,
that's
and
exactly what that
trying to
is.
understand what you're saying, and what you mean with what you're saying. They just trying to listen to give you a response.
Therein lies creating the value that you're looking for, is that answer comes from a place of authenticity,
Right,
instead of just hearing, just to repeat to you what you want to hear.
right. That's true. That's true. So, I know a lot of times we do get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, and life is lifing or whatever. But what are some points that we need to take daily as we continue to try to go through transformations of life, trying to evolve, trying to become, trying to have the life, trying to have it all, trying to have the white picket fence and the children and the cars and the houses and all these things, but most importantly, have that person that we can call forever with. So what are some things that we can like do in the process of us going through these different situations throughout our seasons of life?
Well, here's the thing. Don't bite off more than you can chew.
Okay.
First thing is just really be patient. Be patient. I know
Patience.
patience is not
Everybody hate that word.
everybody hate that word. Everybody hate that word. But I'm gonna tell you, being patient allows you the opportunity to really, really identify who you are.
And to see things too, because a lot of times we say hindsight is 2020, but if we was patient through some of the stuff that we was going through, it was right there in front of us. We had to wait till everything happened for us to see the big picture. It was right there in front of us the whole time.
But understanding is being able to hear, and this understanding what you see is critical.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because being patient, not knowing what you, and that's why it's a collaboration of everything that we've been talking about today, is to understand that you need to be, sometimes you need to be humble.
Ooh,
Sometimes you just need to be humble. Okay, sometimes you need to be disciplined.
and be quiet too.
You need to be, you sometimes you, and the reason why I'm saying that is because you, sometimes you need to learn what you don't know. You need to learn some things. And so in that case, so and then sometimes you just need to be consistent and being repeating it over and over to get the repetition down. Because once you, until you're trained in who you are, you don't, what you don't want to be is somebody that's going to be flip-flopping.
Right,
You
right,
want to be consistently, or you want to represent and show up consistently so that people, and because here's the point, when you show up consistency, that's what you're going to expect from
hmm,
others, is to show up at the level in which you show up.
yeah.
But
That's
when
all
you,
expectation.
but it's the demonstration of it. It's
Right,
being able to demonstrate it, not just saying it, but demonstrating it. So it's not any, you don't have to doubt whether or not it's a boundary, or if it's a character value that you have. They can see this is who I am. And if I show up that way, guess what? For you to line up with me, you need to show up that way.
you need to mirror that. Yeah.
You need to show up that way. So we need to be what we want others to be able to be, like we want to become. We want to become to the, we want to come. How do I want to say this? We want to be what we want to become, or in our becoming, we want to be it before we begin to share it.
Right,
Okay. So we want to be able to, so that they might see who it is that we are, have become. So that's why the first two stages of healing and hustle, that the building has to be done before we get to the third step of being able to make space, because we want to show up correctly. We want to show up right.
right, right. My grandmother used to say, and I never understood it because back in the day when you hear stuff when you're younger, you'd be like, "What? What do you mean by that?" But I remember she used to say, "Sometimes you got to hear with your eyes. You can't just hear what somebody's saying. You got to hear with your eyes." So and I didn't, but till I became an adult understanding that means people need to be able to show you. If they telling you something, you need to be able to see that their actions is lining up with they telling you. Actions speak louder than words. And so you need to be able to hear with your eyes as well as hearing with your ears, because people will play that. People have mastered the art of like playing in people's faces and doing different things and trying to be what somebody expect them to be, and they're nowhere near it. So yeah.
How do we manifest? How do we manifest love? Is how we show it.
Hmm.
You can tell me anything, but how do you show it?
Yes.
How do you show it? And I have got to be able to be willing to, I have to be able and keen enough to be able to see what it looks like for me, and so as to align with it. If I can't, you can't tell me that that's something that, no, that's not what I know love to be.
Right.
That's not how I align. I don't align to that.
Right.
That's
Right.
an that's an active, that is active, um that is being proactive in this relationship. When you have the awareness of what it is that you're looking to align with.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Well, Miss One, the hour goes by so fast. I swear. It
Wow.
feel like it'd be like 5 minutes. We've been talking, and then before you know it, it's almost 6 o'clock. So I'm gonna give you an opportunity to recap, based off of your 3 points you brought today, and any final remarks you want to have.
Well, I mean, here it is, in a nutshell. Healing with honesty builds discipline, and love with alignment. You want to heal, you want to be honest while you're healing, and to build yourself up, it's going to require discipline.
Oh yeah. And
And then to understand what love is alignment. What it really is all about is alignment. It's when we can align ourselves with something or someone that is has the values that we have, and we can see them in action, in action.
yes,
um and know that it's that type of connection that we're all looking for, and we want to, and that's what love is. And
yeah.
again, I'd like to invite anyone who hears this. We have a this week, fourth Saturday, 5 o'clock, on the 28th, to come on out to Real Life Talk. We're going to be talking a little bit about healing. And so we're going to continue to pick up on this a little bit as relates to how we can do that, in various stages of our lives, no matter where you are, how to be able to navigate life. And everyone has things that we have to overcome. Everything we have to healing. That's not something exclusive to anyone. We all have to go through that.
That's so true. And how can they join, Mr. One? Um,
Um, that is so interesting. My website went down, and that was where the registration is. But here's what you can do: you send me an email, and we will send you the link to register. Just info@clearjourney.org, and say you want to be registered to the Real Life Talk, and we will send you the link to register. Unfortunately, my website went down last week. I'm in the process of putting it back, getting it back online. I'm hoping to have it back up sometime this week. But yeah, just send us an email. Say I want to go or want to attend the Real Life Talk, and we will send you the link to register.
okay. You should have called Jada.
Well, that's what I got them working it on it, and
Okay.
I'm looking for them to tell me something today. So I'm hoping that
Okay.
it will be back up.
Okay. Well, good. Well, thank you. Thank you. I would try to. I got dental work on this Saturday.
Okay.
Um, I have a Saturday appointment for dental work, so we'll see how I'm feeling after all that. I'm trying to get that done before Easter. So, but
Just let everybody know that we'll be there. We're there every fourth Saturday at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. All right. Well, ladies, I hope that you guys had an opportunity to take in some notes. I was writing my notes down, take in some notes. I hope that some of this stuff spoke to you directly. To every woman listening right now, you are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to outgrow. You are allowed to choose yourself again and again. This season of your life, whether you you're going through certain patches and differences in your life, know that it's not confusion, it's transformation. You're not lost, you are becoming. And so adjust to that transformation of becoming. There's times that you're not going to feel comfortable. There's some times when it's going to be uneasy, painful, and you'll have moments, but give yourself grace during this process. Mr. Juan mentioned the word patience. That's why I say give grace, because I hate the word patience, because I feel like the moment I say, okay, Lord, I need to be patient, he gonna test me on that patience. So I always tell myself, give yourself grace. Give yourself. It's just as simple as when we're trying to lose 5 or 10 pounds. If it took us 3 months to gain that, give yourself that time to lose that weight as well. We're such a microwave generation. We want things quick, fast, in a hurry or whatever. But like we said in the segment, you need to be intentional about the things that you're doing and how you're going about doing it, establishing your boundaries. You can still have your soft girl era in this becoming and growing phase as well. But be intentional and communicate that. Communicate that, because if you're purposely aligned with the right person, they're going to understand that, and they're going to communicate back with you what they are hearing, what you're saying, so that way they're clarifying things. They're not just doing things because they're not responding just because of what you're saying. What Mr. One said is important. We need to be able to see actions, demonstration of what is being said. And if you're not seeing that, then you need to, make some adjustments. You are entitled to that, because you don't want anything to take you off the path of becoming, of evolving, and being the best version of yourself. So, ladies, we are still celebrating you for Women's History Month. We got one more Sunday. We'll have a panel of ladies on for that Sunday, ladies in ministry. A lady talking to us about, our hair process, alopecia, people who are suffering with hair loss and hair thinning and all these things. She's going to provide the services that she gives for that, and any medical information that you might need. She'll be able to provide that as well. So don't miss out on next week's final episode, as we're celebrating women for Women's History Month this month. And as we're continuing to celebrate you becoming, evolving, and having the best life that you can have. So we thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Juan, as always.
You're
We'll
welcome.
see
Thank
you
you.
next month. And I will try to see you on the Saturday if I can.
All
But
righty.
all of you, that if you need information to join Mr. One, saying contact me or Jada. If you didn't write down the information, we'll make sure you get it to tag on to his segment on Saturdays. So thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week on next week's episode. Thank you for joining us today. Bye.